I was researching, or rather, I was reading on the butterfly effect the other day, and then this is what I understood from what I read. That the butterfly effect, it's when one small step one small step can have one small step can have a huge impact, either on an entire organization or in any place. One small step can just make or can just cause a very big impact. So that is what I got. That's what I understood about the entire butterfly effect. And then this is what I thought, or rather, this is what came to my mind. This is what we mean when we say Christians are the salt and the light of the earth, and especially when we say Christians are the salt of the earth. This is Proverbs 27:17 podcast. As iron sharpen iron, so does man sharpen man. This is Proverbs 27:17 podcast. The presence of a Christian should in a very large way be able to affect, it should be in a very large extent be able to affect an environment. And we are not talking about, like big impact or big influence. It could be in very small, if it could be in very small ways, in small ways, like the same way with butterfly effect. Small steps, small things. We are not saying you have to be loud. You can be quiet, because all Christians are of different personalities. We have those who are loud and they are not, and we have those who are a bit quiet. But in your lifestyle, the way you live your life in itself should be able to say something, to preach something, to just speak a certain thing, such that when you come into an organization, or when you go into a place, or when you go into an environment, there has to be a shift. All of a sudden, people should start thinking, oh, wait, something has changed. Was this wrong all this while and we didn't know? Is this how it's supposed to be done? And that's what it means. Like, salt, when you think of salt is very little. When you put salt, very little, but makes it makes the entire difference. No matter how sweet a food is, without salt we will not be able to taste. So we just require a little bit of salt to make the various or different tastes burst into existence. And that is why, as Christians, we are called the salt of this earth. That our small steps, just one Christian, I don't know if it was a pastor or who said that just one Christian is enough to change an environment or to change an organization. Just one Christian. And we're just one Christian, just one. And this reminds us of the story of the lepers. They were 4 lepers, yet God used their weak footsteps. God used it to magnify the sound. So you can be one Christian. Your presence in itself is enough to change an entire institution. And let me give an example from of a story of my friend. So my friend, when they're in campus, you get different roommates. They have different lifestyle, but after some time, you get to know who is who, what the other likes. So it was like double decker. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so the three of the other roommates were not born again, but my friend was born again. So with time, they got to realize this. So each time when they will start talking about whatever, those things, their own things, when they will start talking about, I don't know, Nini, each time my friend came into the room, they would stop. If they're talking about weird things, they will stop. They will change the entire conversation, because they already know this friend of mine will not condone it. If they're talking about, making their plans of going to this club, going to that club, when she comes in, they'll change. They'll just change. They'll start talking about something else that everyone can start can contribute. That is what it means. It may seem like they were just being polite. They didn't want her to feel weird, but it is in the same way. They already know she's born again. She does not align herself with clubbing. She's heavy naive. So when she comes in, they change. So those are the small effects. Pole, because the evil. So, and that's what we talk about. And it can look very insignificant. It can feel very little. So they're just being polite, but in a way, there is a message that is being conveyed there. Why stop talking if you're not talking about anything bad? Why stop talking and all this stuff? And in the same setting, let me give you a story now. Imagine of the same setting. They come, one is born again, the three are not born again. They were talking about clubbing and they talk about clubbing, and the person who is born again comes into the room, and then the three who are not born again, they like trying to include her in the stories, and then in the end they even invite her. Do you want to come? And you already know it's born again. Although it happens out of mockery, sometimes it happens, but it's different when someone is mocking you, and it's different when someone is trying to include you. So when someone is trying to include you in that particular type of a setting, and you are born again, in its own way, it is a message they're trying to convey to you. They're either telling you, in as much as umeokoka, your type of salvation ilia nusu, your stand is not, if there is something, you are either giving a mixed signal, or there is something up, or sometimes because again, sometimes it could just be pure mockery, because the people will just be mocking you. They already know you're born again, but they'll just be there to haunt you, to taunt you. But the thing is, your presence as a Christian should be able to make some people, if they're talking about something, either keep quiet, or if they're planning something, either keep quiet, or they just change their tactics. And these things, you might say, these things are impractical. They are real stories from the ground, where someone was born again, they went to an institution, they decided they're going to stick to the right way. They found people who were very moderate, lukewarmish. This particular person decided they're going to give their best, work their best. Along the way, the other workers, they without even them realizing, they get aligned, they get in tune, they start doing what this other person is. They start giving an extra, maybe not so much like the way this other worker is doing, but kidogo too, in small bits, they start giving more. And by the end of the day, you realize this one Christian is able to influence an entire organization, or an entire workplace, or an entire environment. And that is all we are saying, that as a Christian, just one Christian is enough to change an entire environment. And we're not saying you should be, no one is saying maybe preach, or talk in loud voice, or maybe the change should be big, like people should do a 360 degrees change. It might mean small things, just small steps, just small steps. And those small steps, those small changes that occur, is what leads to a bigger impact. So as a Christian, even as I'm talking, is there any influence, or is there any change where I am, or in my workplace, whether I'm there, whether I'm not there, the environment is the same? Well, there has to be a difference. Like, hey, this particular person, there has to be a difference, because you are the salt of this world. There has to be a difference. You are either giving your best, or you're either like everybody else, or you're either working below average. So it's normally out of those three things. And I want to take this out of the workplace. Even in our normal lives, you could, in your neighborhood, or in the building that you live, or in the area that you live, you go and live there, and people start noticing, this particular person, there's something different about them. And then kidogo they realize, you are born again. And then they like the way you handle yourself, the way you mean yourself, the way you mind your own business. And even without realizing it, there's something you will be giving off. At the end of the day, if we live like the way we are called to live, one Christian is enough to change the environment of a particular place. And we're not talking about, 360 degrees change. It could be small changes. Maybe people used to curse a lot, but since you came to that place, they have ceased in their cursing. Maybe people used to fight a lot, but since you came to that place, there are less fights. Maybe people used to behave with pride. I know people just used to do strange things, but because of your presence, that particular place, it has either gone down. So that is it. We are called to be the salt of this earth. Wherever you go, there has to be a difference. There has to be a difference. You yourself being in that particular place is the difference, because they will look at your lifestyle, and then they look at what they're used to. Two different things. And by doing that, it's like your own life is portraying what should actually be done. So for me, when I had this butterfly effect, it immediately took me to the salt of the earth. we as Christians, we are called to be the salt of the earth. But the question is, are we really, or are we just like everybody else? Or even worse, we are even worse than everybody else, you know? You're not even moderate, uko tu kuchini. Game yako chini kabisa. Or is there any difference that we bring in as Christians to the table? As a Christian, as a born again Christian, are you the salt of wherever you are at? Ama you're just like every other person who is on that board? Think about this. This is Proverbs 27:17 podcast. Thank you for listening, and I would like to hear from you. One, what do you know of butterfly effect? And two, when you think of the salt of the earth, what comes to your mind? Comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you watch other videos, subscribe, and like this video if you've give the video a thumbs up if you like it. Thank you so much for your time once again. See you next time. Shalom.